Tsundoku, noun. Language of origin, Japanese. Meaning, the act of acquiring books but allowing them to pile up unread.
Namco is a master of 1980s arcade games, having paved the way to the hearts of many people who would never enter arcade with Pac-Man, the simple maze game that broke down barriers with just a joystick and a yellow circle. To celebrate the company and their achievements, two of the launch titles for the Evercade retro console are Namco Collection 1 and 2. Let's open up NTSC-Unseen, a look at international video games. The pair of Namco Collection titles have been barred from release in the United States, so while a few of these titles may have been released in the States before, a number of them never have, and these two collections won't for a while. Are they worth the import, or should you save your quarters for the arcade?
Comics, games, animation, and a variety of henshin credible superhero shows from Japan. Chad Bonin guides you through the Tsundoku Zone.
Normally, a console wouldn't need too much of a background for a video like this. While I'm happy to explain, I understand most people watching these videos know the Super Nintendo was known as the Super Famicom in Japan, or the Sega Genesis was the Sega Mega Drive. The Evercade is different. When the British release a console, that raises some questions. When they release a cartridge-based console that focuses on old-school gaming, that even raises more questions. Major Nintendo published titles will get released on the Switch Online subscription service. Major Sega published titles will get released in various collections and ports. For all the other companies, though, that's up to the whims of the publisher, and your likely option may be a franchise-focused compilation on a digital shop. For Evercade, they've decided to go with collections, and many of them feature stuff that's never had a proper re-release. Two upcoming cartridges are devoted to the Atari Lynx. Largely ignored in America, the Oliver twins are having a cartridge dedicated to Disney and their other offerings. And then you have Namco. There's no lack of Namco collections over the years. Even looking at the Switch, you already have multiple collections of both their arcade and console games. Possibly due to this, Evercade will not be releasing the pair of Namco collection titles in America. Let's run down the 22 titles between the cards. Some are making their first appearance in the States, so let's dive into the Tsundoku. Galaxian. This Famicom title is a port of the arcade prequel to Galaga. A bit more restricted than its iconic sequel, but still a required game in the history of the genre. Pac-Man. The once banned NES title finds itself limited to portrait mode on a horizontal screen, but the title is a solid port that handles the game admirably for the time. Xevious. An arcade classic when it comes to Japan, this is the console version of the title. Players have the ability to shoot enemies in the sky and on the ground. Mappy. The Famicom port of the Cops and Robbers title mimics Pac-Man gameplay with new elements. Players have to handle trampolines, doors, and other interactive elements to collect all the items without getting caught. Quad Challenge.
Quad Challenge!
The Sega Genesis received this all-terrain racing title in 1991, allowing split-screen combat across muddy hills in a racer that was impressive for its time in console. Libble Rabble. A Super Famicom title, this is a twin-stick screen carver. Using the D-pad and face buttons to mimic an additional pad, players move two icons around the screen to catch enemies in their net. Battle Cars. This vehicular combat title allows players to upgrade their vehicles over the course of the game. Best described as F-Zero meets Super Mario Kart, it's the hard rock alternative to the two. Mappy Kids. This Famicom platformer makes its official English language debut in this cartridge. With a level map and the ability to hover akin to Mario's Raccoon Tail, it's a platformer in the vein of Super Mario Bros. 3. Star Luster. Players navigate around a map and fire upon enemies in first-person space action. A bit of a spiritual predecessor, this Japan-only Famicom game has been cited as a significant inspiration for Star Fox 2. Metal Marines. Mecha are always appreciated in the Super Nintendo title, and the game combines early real-time strategies with a bit of SimCity to give a good balance of battle and building. Dig Dug. The father of Mr. Driller gets his start in this NES port. Your hero will dive into the dirt to inflate all of the enemies to death. Galaga. Everything Galaxian did, Galaga did better. More enemy varieties leads to a more exciting, varied, and memorable space adventure. Pack Attack. Also known as Pack Panic, this puzzle is a conversion of Cosmo Gang the Puzzle. Easily my favorite on the games on the carts, players drop bricks, ghosts, and the occasional Pac-Man to consume. Tower of Druaga. This Maze Adventure title broke the ground in the adventure genre. As the hero, you'll traverse a map, searching for keys to open doors, all while avoiding monsters. Phalios. This arcade title never made it to America, but the console port did hit the Genesis in the States. Apollo and his winged Pegasus fly through the sky in this Greek-inspired shooter. Dragon Spirit. This vertical shooter flew to the TurboGrafx-16 in the late 80s and can be seen as the Dragon evolution of multiplane shooters like Xevious. Dig Dug 2. The oft-forgotten sequel of Dig Dug, this title brings a bit more of a kicks element to the driller, as the player has the ability to destroy chunks of land to defeat their enemies, on top of retaining the air pump ability. Burning Force. Namco's take on Space Harrier brought a Space Cadet to the Sega Genesis. Anime stylized, this is a technically impressive shooter that's as visually striking as you can get without expansion chips. Weapon Lord.
What?
This fighting game for the Super Nintendo could be considered the ancestor to the Soul Calibur franchise, with a Hyborian Age take on weapon combat.
Malaysia wins.
Warp Man. The Famicom follow-up to the arcade title Warp and Warp, it's part Robotron, part Bomberman, and all confusing unless you take a look at the manual. Splatterhouse 2. Violent delights have violent ends in this Genesis brawler that helped mature-styled games find a foothold on consoles. The best horror franchise to not have a movie or book attached to it in some fashion, it's a classic beat-em-up. Splatterhouse 3. The Terror Mask returns for a final adventure for the era, adding a bit more adventure to the action title, while retaining the violent horror battles from previous titles. For anyone who decides to enter the Evercade ecosystem, you're likely going to want a full collection, if only for the low prices of the cartridges and the fact that they're numbered. The Namco collections don't offer too much more than you would find on other console collections, particularly the Switch if you're looking for portable home console hybrids. Still, titles like Pack Attack, Mappy Kids, Libble Rabble, and the like are forgotten classics that don't often get time in the sun in these classic collections, and they're worth a playthrough. It's stuff like this that the Evercade excels at, finding retro titles that could use a bit of fun in the sun in 2020 and would be missed by compilations on the big name consoles. The Evercade itself isn't an expensive piece of hardware, and depending on the bundles you get, can notably drop in price. There's no mistaking this for something that Analog would make, but it's also light years beyond an at-games console. That's it for the Tsundoku Zone, but the stack never ends.
This program is brought to you by the support of members of the Tsundoku Zone Patreon. If you enjoyed this episode and have the means, please consider joining to keep the show running and get an inside look on the production.